What happens when an established car brand gets pushed to the edge by fierce new competition and then fights its way back? In this episode of the Cars.co.za podcast, we talked to Paul Turnbull, CEO of Kia South Africa. It was filmed live at NAAMSA Auto Week and is one of the most knowledgeable and insightful and honest podcasts that you will hear. Paul opens up about how Kia nearly lost its footing in South Africa and how the brand pulled itself together and turned it around in order to stay ahead in what is one of the most challenging automotive markets in the world. From lessons learned, mistakes made, and why he believes that in today's market you have to reinvent yourself every quarter or else you die. He also gives a preview of Kia's big plans for 2026, including some surprises that could redefine the brand's future in South Africa. Stay tuned. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the Cars.co.za podcast. Today I am delighted. I have Paul Turnbull, CEO of Kia South Africa, here at NAAMSA Auto Week. Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
So, Kia.
Yes.
Now, you've been in the country for about 20 years now?
27 years. 1998, we were launched in South Africa.
So over those 2 decades that Kia's been in the country, how hard has it been to establish that dealer footprint, and where are you at in terms of that?
So Kia was brought in 1997, as I said. Initially, it's always tough because you're talking almost 30 years ago. There weren't as many dealers around. There was no multi-franchises. There were only standalones. You had the VW. There was no multi. You didn't go up to a VW and say, well, give us a corner. We'll just put a sign up. So you had to build your own dealers. So it was tough. You needed the back in those days of a multinational company. We had Imperial. They listed a business that
became Motors.
They launched, that was Renault. They had Hyundai, they had Kia. So it's tough going, and then also to attract staff is probably the most difficult part, because if you're an established guy at one of the local manufacturers, why are you going to go to this new importer that you don't know what's going to happen with them? So I was involved in the early years with Hyundai, so I know exactly how it was. So it was really tough. I think it's a lot easier now because you go around dealership, there's a multi-franchise. I mean, there's dealers with 7, 8, 9 different OEMs in a dealership. So it's still probably a little bit easier, but at the same time, there's always a hesitation. So you've got price. In our case, in 97, it was all about service. If you could give a service plan or things like that, it was unheard of in those days. There wasn't service plans.
There were expectations these days.
Correct. So that was our route to market, was based on service. You didn't have a part. You had a loan car. You had a problem with the car, let's give you a new one. We were all about service. That's how we got in the market. Nowadays, it's really they got pricing. They come in at a lower price with spec properly, and that's how they're buying or getting market.
Price gets you so far, but your Kia brand is built on trust these days. What are the main elements of a consumer's trusting?
I think there's a few elements to that. So yes, price only goes so far, because you'll sell a bucket load of cars up front and you don't have the backup service. And the consumer today they switch off so quickly. It is about trust, and when it comes to trust, is do you have the parts in the country? And if you don't have the parts in the country, can you get it into the country? That's the biggest issue with the OEM or new OEM. I mean, parts you work on what you sold last month or previous year or whatever the case is, and you stock up for whatever eventuality is going to happen, and you build up history of what parts go in, what parts, crash parts you need.
And every car has got 10,000 different parts.
Correct. So I mean, we got a big warehouse there in Edenvale. We're lucky because we source parts from 4 different regions. Oddly enough, out the UK a lot. But if there's not a part, we fly them in. Obviously, flying parts in, it gets expensive. So that's the challenge, because if that guy's off the road, you can't have the guy off the road for more than a week now, and you just lose credibility. The local, and especially as a new entrant, because something goes wrong with the new car, he's going to tell 1,000 people about it. Something goes wrong with the established brand, he doesn't really, because he's proud of his car. So it's a tricky thing. So lucky we've gone past that, but we learned the price thing. You can't get too expensive because you'll lose your customer quickly. You get too cheap and you don't have the backup. It's a problem. It's everything adds onto that brand. And I think here over the last 20 odd years, they've done a decent job in South Africa. I think worldwide they've probably done a better job, because Australia, the big markets, UK, America, or USA, they're doing really well. But it's ongoing. I mean, it never stops. I mean, to build your brand, it never stops. And we went through it when I said we're down to 2%. So you can go down 5% to 2% market share within a year if you don't.
As you said at the start, it's about keeping an eye on everything. At
Correct.
the same time, it's the science behind it.
Correct. And at the end of the day, there's a customer behind every car. So if you don't look after that guy, you'll remember, you'll move on quicker. Some guys will move on tomorrow, they'll go sell a car. So you have to be on top of your game. It's difficult, but it's your challenge every single day.
You've got a point where the trust in the brand means it's not a conversation. No one discusses where's the nearest Kia dealership and so on. You know it's there.
Correct. And I think the biggest thing that customers do know is that they've been around 30 years and ain't going anywhere. So it does give that level of trust. I mean, there's new entrants. I think some are doing really well. But the questions must be asked. I mean, I was asked them, will you be here? What's happening next? It's a challenge, but it's their challenge. Now, our challenge is to not lose market share to them and to take a little bit market share back. But we're a Korean company, but we're owned by a South African listed company, so we're pretty much South African, yeah, and we'll give it a best shot.
All the talk these days about these Chinese brands that are coming in and trying to establish their brands and all the rest. What are the lessons learned from Kia over the last decade? Because you now considered an establishment brand.
Okay, so the lessons learned, I wasn't with Kia at that stage, but I think as an established brand, the lessons learned is that you just always have to be ahead of the game. You cannot sit for 1 second and think you got your segment or your market captured or your pricing right. You need to be reinventing yourself quarterly, because if you don't, you'll get left behind very quickly. So there was always competition before the Chinese. I think the Chinese have just accelerated that competition or doubled it. So the lessons learned that we've seen, you don't be on top of the market, know what's happening in the market, have the right product at the right price, the right promotions, you'll lose market share in a month. So you really have to be top of mind with your product monthly. You really do.
And the Chinese come in very aggressive on price. How does that sit well with you? You've got an established supply chain, you've got lots of people employed within that supply chain and so on. That must be like a blow.
I was lucky in my position because I've been with Kia since May last year, so May 2024. The Kia were suffering. They were bleeding market share. Our market share was down to just over 2% when I came in. And the first thing I did was start engaging with the Koreans. That's obviously our OEM partners, because we weren't competitive anymore. Great car, probably wrongly spec'd, wrong price. So we had to go back to the drawing boards and I'd go sit with them, do the market analysis and get their support to relaunch the products at the right price. I was also lucky in that we launched 2 or 3 new products at the same time, so we could launch them aggressively. But really what it's done is it's made everybody from the local dealers to the local OEM, myself and the Koreans, it's made us have to work, because you have to have the right product at the right price, else you don't sell. I mean, we were down to 2%, and the Chinese, where they've positioned themselves is right where Kia's positioned themselves, because Kia, we're not into the entry level. Yes, we've got the Picanto, so it's not a price model. It's probably 40,000 more than your cheapest entry level car. So our big play is the Sonnet, the SUV, MUV segment, small SUV. And so we suffered. We did, and it was we were complacent. So we thought the Chinese might come in and go away, wouldn't affect us, but we got hurt. Yeah.
Well, they come in and they've been aggressive. But I hear you're launching a bakkie.
Can't wait. Yes.
And it's a very funky style. I mean, it's very different. It's not what you'd expect from Kia.
Correct. So the Tasman, I know one of your, I think 2 of you guys came with me to Saudi to go to the international launch of the Tasman. So definitely a bakkie that you're going to either love or you're going to hate, but they followed to their scope of work, because what they were told is bring something different, design something different, because they felt that any bakkie, a bakkie looks like a bakkie, and they do generally. So their task was to do something very different, which I think they've done. They're very excited. It's already launched in Australia, New Zealand, places like that. And we're hoping to have it first half of next year. We're hoping to have it here. We've got 2 homologation units. One's arrived, one's on the water.
And the experience in Australia? Because it's a similar market in their bakkies.
That is. So with the feedback I've got, because we've got a couple of Kia dealers there, because Motors owns a whole lot of dealers in Australia and Sydney area. That is going decently. they haven't given us too much information because you can only compare it to what your forecast is maybe or what you think. So they say the quality is brilliant. It's already got a following. A little bit slower than they wanted, but it's getting out there. So I haven't got action. It's only been, I think it was launched 2 months ago, so not big numbers yet, but it's going. So we'll take some lessons from there. As you know, they call it the ute and the ute market. Same competition, Hilux. There, the Range is the biggest, I think. Ranger, Hilux, Isuzu. The same competition as us. So we'll see how it goes. I'll get real stats soon, but I don't have the real stats as yet.
Now, we're at NAAMSA and Auto Week. One of the big talking points in NAAMSA is about locally built model. Is that something Kia's ever looked at, local building?
I wouldn't know if they've looked at it before, because I've only been in the role for a year and a half. I know our sister company's got a SKD, but there were some comments on that in the thing, so they haven't looked. I think the biggest problem we got here, we could look at it, but you need to have a car that's got volume to start manufacturing or exporting. So most of the stuff's come from China, so we haven't. The Koreans haven't said go do research. We haven't really pushed the topic as yet. Something we could look at without a doubt, but there's no commitment. There hasn't even been a study as yet, as far as I know. Not in my tenure, at least.
And new energy vehicles?
Kia's got an exciting lineup already. Maybe it's quite small, but we've got the market share back to 5%. There's 6 new model launches lined up for next year. The question is, do we bring the EV in or not? So we've got the EV3, which was the World Car of the Year now in the worldwide. The EV5, which we actually got one in South Africa, homologation unit, and then the EV9. So those 3 are a possibility. Probably the EV3 because it's just the least expensive, and then there's the EV2 that's being launched worldwide soon. But probably the most exciting of the lot, we'll get into it when you talk Cyrus, but they bring in the Cyrus in the EV. So I would like to launch the EV3 because I've seen the car. It's a fabulous car. I drive the EV5. It's magnificent. We're not scared, so I want to bring in the EV3, 5, and 9. I mean, the EV9, I don't know if you've seen that car, but it's fantastic. Will it sell big numbers? No. I don't have to bring in 1,000. I can bring in 40. You can just sell 5, 10 a month. Gets a brand elevated because it's really good, and they do really well in the big markets like the States. But so it is on the radar, the EVs, yes. Which ones I can't tell you, but it's definitely on the radar.
But South Africans have always been very reticent about EVs, infrastructure, all sorts of things.
There's way, because I don't know what's the size of the market. 1% is small. I know it's small, but you can either now become an early adopter. The Kia range of EVs is probably the best worldwide, in my opinion. Maybe it's a bit of a biased opinion, but they really got good EVs. So while it's new and fresh, bring it. What's it to lose? If EV doesn't take off and it's only 5% of the market, get your little piece of the 5%. And if it takes off, to be established already. So our goal is to be more aggressive. I think we were always more conservative at Kia. So I think we've been more aggressive. Don't mind making mistakes. If I launch EV9 and it doesn't work, I'll have to deal with it. There won't be millions of consumers affected. But it might just work. It's a beast of a motor car.
The noise locally, we used to talk about EVs a few years back. Now it's all about hybrids.
So oddly enough, hybrids we haven't really looked at because for some reason I can't get the pricing out, the FOB. So it's almost easier for me to bring an EV than a hybrid. So we are looking. We definitely look at. But then in the hybrid, you don't get the EV3, EV5, EV9 because those are fully EVs. You get a hybrid Karens and you get a hybrid Sportage we can bring in. So we look at that also. But if you're talking EV, the cars are called EVs for reasons. So I think we just want to go maybe out the mold and just be a bit more aggressive and see how it goes. Probably only sell them through 5 or 10 really metropolitan dealers, not out in the rural places. And from Kia's side, they got a big push on EVs. So with Kia, if you're EV ready and you've got EVs in your lineup, they're more willing to give you more FOB discount. So if you've got EV, they'll give you more discount up front on the rest of the range. Their push from Kia is 50% ICE and alternative and 50% EV. They're big on EV. They still see the future of motoring in EV. They're fully behind it. So time will tell. But
look, I'm only back from Europe. You look at the penetration of hybrids and EVs there versus here. It's chalk and cheese.
Correct.
We do. If we fall that far behind the world, it's going to have implications.
We'll have to catch up at some stage. I know it's a rands and cents thing for the entry-level motorist. I do understand it. But I got that first EV5. I disliked it immensely. And I don't know why, because the car was fabulous. It is fabulous. I'm still driving it. And I really didn't like it. But now that I've driven it for 2 or 3 months, it's fantastic. Because you actually get used to driving it. You know how to get that regeneration to work. I'll get it like 600-700 k's on the battery. But that's traffic, short distances. So it's really good. So I think we as South Africans, we like us, we like diesel, we like engines. It's changing already because all I've heard so far today is EV ready, EV this, hybrid this, plug-in hybrid. So not a big market, but it's coming. We're not going to be isolated. Yeah.
Well, you're at an automotive conference. That's all they talk about.
Exactly. But you could also talk about diesel. I haven't heard diesel engine being spoken about once.
We did our DealerCon recently in our industry report. Diesel has grown in this country. Declined in all our markets, but diesel has grown in this country. It's quite a traditional values when it comes to that. That's why we love our bakkies.
I suppose we have a bit of a hypocrite because we just launched Sorrento and I went with the diesel and I was very happy to go with the diesel motor, not the hybrid.
So what are your new model plans for 2026? You think you said 5?
5 or 6. So the first one would be Karen's, which we were hoping to bring in this year, but we did internal politics, but we didn't. So that will be early the first quarter, which is a 7 and 8 seater MUV. Yeah, that's a new term they call a multi-utility vehicle. So it doesn't look like a 7-seater, more like an SUV, but it's actually a 7-seater. So we're looking to bring that in first quarter. Just a 1.5 petrol and 1.5 diesel. There we go, back to the diesels. So that will fill a gap we haven't had. Because we only got the 3. So you launch a new Saltos, launch a new Sonnet, you can get a few hundred sales more, a few hundred less, because you're just filling what you had. So it's a totally new market. We've never brought the Karens in here for some reason. So that's the first one. The Tasman, which obviously excited about. Everyone likes to say, what volume, what price?
It'll turn heads.
That's but it's definitely coming. So I want that to be the second one launched. So the Koreans actually on the 16th of October to negotiate, hopefully finalize the pricing.
Something that different, it'll just elevate your brand.
Without a doubt. And it's already got so much attention. So even if, you still want to sell, we would like to sell 100 or 200 a month, whatever the numbers. I know Amarok sell about 250. So we see it. But it also could be one of those products that people just really like and it takes off. So we'll see. But pricing is important. In Australia, they were launching at price parity with Hilux and Ranger, and then just before launch, they dropped the pricing on the Tasman. I can't remember the exact Aussie dollars, obviously. So I think it's roughly, I'm talking under correction, but 5-10% cheaper than the Hilux and Ranger.
So can we lock that in as a quote for South Africa?
Oh, I wish if I could give it, but we have to. I think it. You know that we're talking about brand loyalty. I think the brand loyalty on the bakkies in South Africa is even greater than a passenger car. I mean, Hilux, Ranger, Isuzu. I mean, those
I agree with you. Everybody's launching a bakkie.
Correct.
It's
a tough one to crack. So, but we're excited. So we'll give it a proper bash. We'll have the pressure to do well because the Koreans will be into us. Yeah, so we're excited. So that we're hopefully launching probably second quarter 2026. The one that hasn't been spoken about a lot, but it's actually quite interesting, is the Syros. So that's coming out of, interesting enough, on the Tasman. The Tasman is made in Korea. So it's interesting. But the Syros is coming out of India. So they're positioning the Syros Sonnet, then Syros, then Saltos. So they've got a new Saltos coming I'll talk about. So the Syros almost looks like a little bit like the old Kia Soul. So it's quite a retro, funky car. Sonnet size maybe a little bit bigger. I haven't seen it in the flesh, but I've seen a lot of pictures. But interesting on that car, we can get petrol, EV, and diesel. So that's going to be quite, and it's going to be not entry level, but it's going to be sub 500. So it could be the first car we're going to have petrol, diesel, and EV on offer. So that would be quite interesting.
Coming out of India, you should be price competitive.
Correct, because all the cars out of India we are competitive. So that we're quite excited about. That we can only start ordering from June onwards. So that will be latter half of next year. Other exciting one that's being launched worldwide soon is the new Saltos. A really nice looking car. It's a little bit bigger than the old one. It's actually probably Sportage size. It's actually really nice. Lots of tech. They've really gone big with that car. So it looks good. Lots of tech. So that will launch. That we can launch. We can start ordering from February. So it depends on our run out. But it's going to be a little bit more pricier than the old one. So we could probably have both on the showrooms for the medium term. But that really looks nice. and then possibly that EV3. So hopefully it's exciting year for Kia. We launch all 6 and we can do it properly. The challenge there, you have to use your manpower and you have to plan it properly because it's not small launches. At Tasman, you're going to have to do a proper launch and do a proper job marketing. So how do you get all these 6 products in 1 year is going to be a challenge.
There's so much being launched at the minute. You have to launch to stay relevant.
Correct. But the nice thing is they're all very different cars. So on its own, it's going to cause attention. It's not just a new run-of-the-mill entry-level car. It's all of them. Syros is different. The Saltos is stunning. The Tasman is, it's different. So there's a lot to talk about. But you also want to manage it so you can get the maximum mileage for your exposure. You only launch 6 great cars once in your lifetime if you're lucky. So that's the job we'll have to do. But
if you need someone to test drive a Tasman for you, I'll volunteer.
We'll have it. I'll get Tony to get it to you. I think it's arriving next week, so just homologation, then we can have it. No issue.
Sounds great. Well, look, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being in Port Elizabeth for NAAMSA Auto Week. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for
your time. We wish you the best success over the coming year.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Cool. Thank you.